move on to the parents.
The parents.
The parents.
I love parents.
Yep. And if you're a new parent, watching this, it may seem harsh, but we're not trying to be harsh. We're just talking from experience as Brian being a coach, me being a coach slash timer event director. Um, but just remember that your coach is probably not getting paid a whole lot to be there and is doing it because he wants to make your student athlete a better runner. Um, at best, some of the stipends I've seen are maybe $3,000, maybe. There might be some higher, but probably more lower. And when you equate the hours that these coaches put in, because not only are they at practice every day during the week, but they're going most of the time to a track meet every weekend for 6 to 7 weeks. So it's less than minimum wage for most coaches when you break
Oh
down the
yeah.
money to the hours.
Oh yeah.
So keep that in mind when you're trying to talk to them like it's Nick Saban at Alabama. Um, it's a little different. Um, I don't think there's any coach out there purposely trying to hurt another kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
No.
There's not anybody out there trying to do that. So take it easy on the coaches. Remember, they're there trying to do their best, and some are more experienced than others, and they're gaining that experience. And you got to keep that in mind too. If you were a past runner, you feel free to let them know and make suggestions. But ultimately, they're the coach, so they make those decisions. Um, you anything you want to add on top of that as a former coach?
Yeah, we had a parent meeting every year when I was coaching high school, and I told them all, some of you are doctors and lawyers and well-respected professionals in your fields. I will never go into your surgery room. I will never go into the courtroom and start telling you how to do things. So don't come over here and do that. And I mean, I always had parents. You've always got one that's like, oh, when I was in upstate New York, we used to run up mountains. Well, what mountains are we running up down here? There's no mountains. This
Right,
is in upstate New York. So, you
right.
always have that. I remember the parent I thought was going to be the most trouble because she ran competitively. I thought, oh man, she was the best parent I ever had. She let me do, she let me coach. She let me do what I needed to do, and she was great. And I mean, those are always the best parents, the ones who are supportive and they show up and they want to understand the sport, of course, but the ones that let you do what you're supposed to do. And that's something I think that you can't really speak enough to. I mean, I just heard a horror story today about a parent with another coach whose athlete, it's just like the parent doesn't want him to run cross country because he might not be good enough to run in college, and what's the point? It's a waste, and that kind of stuff. It's such bad negative advice. It's like at some point you gotta let your kids be your kids and support them and love them, but I mean
And
they
and
gotta do
while
what they gotta
college
do.
scholarship and running in college is great, also just having fun being with your friends running is awesome. And most of the time, and I hate this saying because it's kind of a cliche, but cross country is most other people's punishment, and
That's
which
true.
I don't like that, but ultimately it is. Like, you get in trouble in football, what do you gotta do? Run a lap. Trouble in basketball, run a lap. And running should be fun and enjoyable. So just parents, if you're watching this and you're new, again, we're not trying to come down on you, but just keep an open mind. Remember, it's supposed to be fun. Let your kids have fun with it. And if something happens, after 12th grade and they end up going somewhere with it, awesome. If not, it's not the end of the world. They're probably going to have great memories, as they get older of when they ran. I run into kids all the time. I say kids. I run into adults all the time, like I mentioned what I do, and they're like, oh, I ran cross country. I wasn't very good, but man, it was so much fun. I enjoyed just running with my friends. And that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. So the new parents, especially on this one, there are three types of parents that you will witness at a cross country meet. Some of these will be on your team, some of them may or may not. You have your number one parent that is the relaxed parent, there to be supportive, walking around, may go to the start line, probably watch the finish, kind of hang around the tent, won't ask a lot of questions, but they're supporting their kid. Those parents are awesome. You have your next parent, kind of your team mom, kind of your team dad. They'll make sure everything's organized. They'll be at the start. They'll be at the finish. They'll, maybe run or jog to one spot during the course or on the course to see the athlete that they're looking for, and be at every meeting, be supportive, help do fundraising, whatever you need. Those are also awesome as well. And the third, while awesome, sometimes can be a little overbearing. They will show up in their running shorts. They will have their watches on. They will be ready to get splits at every mile marker. You see them running across the field, or I've now started seeing a new trend of people bringing bicycles and bicycling across the trails. And um, that's a bit much for me, but if that's what they want to do, awesome. So more power to them, and just be ready for those, because some of them can be very intense. Like
Oh yeah.
they're all about it. But ultimately, as long as they're there supporting their athlete, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um, if there's a problem with timing, if there's a problem with athletes having issues with other athletes, let the coach just know. Just say, hey, little Timmy's missing the results, or hey, this kid and my kid, they're not jiving right now. Could you kind of look into it? Even though coaches aren't counselors, they hear everything. They know a lot of what's going on in your kids' lives. So they'll look into it, they'll report back to you, and they'll try and take care of that problem. But just that goes back to the let the coach be the coach, and don't try and take too much on as the parent. Like, just enjoy being the parent of the athlete. You got anything you want to add on that one?
No, I think it's perfect. You definitely, you want to let the kids be the kids, and you want to let the coaches be the coaches. And as new parents, returning parents, it's fun. It's a whirlwind. Cross country is very quick. I feel like the season ends fairly quickly, especially at the collegiate level. So only a couple of meets, but track is long, and so it's when you're in the tent all day getting to know people. It's awesome. It's a fun thing, I think, especially for parents, and that's how they sort of build bonds. And we have parents that have built those bonds and are so close. So I think it's a great thing.
Absolutely. All right. So moving on to another thing for the parents. This is an FHSA rule, which most people may not know. And when I say rule, it's not for just cross country, it's all sports FHSA. No pets allowed. So, as an event director, it's also an insurance liability for me. So, I don't want people bringing their pets to the event. Service animals, completely different. That's understandable. But a pet, you can tell the difference. Pets are running around, um, even if they're on a leash, like they're not being controlled. And you may know your pet, but that doesn't mean that something can't happen. And I actually have a source here. I don't know. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fast forward too fast. There we go. Again, dang it. All right, here we go. So this dog just takes the kids out right here, knocks them down.
Well, that's not good. Come on, Fido, you got to get out of the way, man. Looks like it hurt,
So
actually. Ouch.
yeah, so that happened at Flyra. So that kid was an eighth grader. This was 2022. Kid was an eighth grader, worked all season to make it to Flyra, and that was 1,000 meters into the race. So he had just started the race. He was up in the front pack, you know, worked all summer running, to have a dog trip him up. And I can't remember if he broke his arm or his collarbone. I think it was his collarbone, but
Ouch.
he ended up going to the hospital. And the dog owner, while they were very, apologetic about it, ultimately it was their fault. And they just ruined this kid's entire season that he had built up for and was in the front pack because they couldn't control their pet at the meet. So we're not just trying to be rude, and another example for me is I have the Alligator Lake Invitational. The park doesn't allow pets in there either. Um, just because if you do go back into the woods, it's called Alligator Park because there are alligators back there. So that will attract them to come out of the water versus stay in the water because that's easy dinner for them. So please, please, please remember, coaches, tell your parents, parents tell other parents, leave your pets at home. You don't have any examples of that, do you? Like, I'm
No, I've never seen. I mean, the only dogs that we've ever let out have been our runners. And when we get to the race, we let the dogs out, man. Who,
right,
who, who.
right.
Those are the only animals I have any expertise with at cross country meets,
I
track
got,
meets too.
I got you.